I was told one day by a police officer that the people on the street had absolutely nothing better to live for than death. And that really stung me, and it hurt. And I said to myself, if that's the case, then death, maybe you better get out there and start taking care of these people. And that became my transformation into personification of death. Obviously, the long road and the scythe wouldn't work too well in today's modern world. So I took the figure of death, which is Thanatos, the Greek god of death, who became the Grim Reaper, and I modernized him up a bit of the Green Hornet, Shadow, Spirit, Batman, Doc Savage. But it was that moment that really said something has to be done. There are people dying on these streets every day, people that shouldn't be dying, and it really hurt.
How do you fund the supplies that you give to people?
It all comes out of my own pocket. I work, I have a job. I'm not a fat kid in my mother's basement. And it all comes out of my pocket, and I spend what I can to get bundles for my handouts, for water for when it's needed, and for things like that. It all comes out of my pocket.
What was your most satisfying moment in your place?
Most satisfying is when somebody says thank you. I put a loaf of bread in people's hands and have them cry. I've been told by people on the street that they haven't had a loaf of bread all of their own selves in years. Just seeing somebody being able to be kept alive for one more day is the satisfaction I get out of it.
I have two questions. The first is, I mean, I heard a couple chuckles during the movie. I laughed a couple times myself.
So did I.
Do you feel that, pardon?
So did I.
Yeah. Do you feel that this positively, this movie, like, positively depicts the whole real life
Yes, it
superhero
does.
subculture?
Yes, it does. Among our community, and there's about 300 of us at the moment, we've had a lot of discussions about this, about whether the movie really portrays us. And it does. You know, we're not Clark Kent. I'm not Bruce Wayne or Tony Stark. We are not perfect people. We're individuals. We're ordinary people, just like you. We all have our flaws. We all have our faults. And we live with them, and we still manage to try to get out there and do what we can. So the movie really shows us. I know Mr. Extreme. He's gone through an awful lot in his personal life, and he's sacrificed an awful lot to be able to do this for people, as have other people. People come into this from all kinds of backgrounds, and it's amazing how well we work together when we do. And your other question, or?
Oh yeah, my other was, if somebody told you they wanted to, you know, put on a costume and go out and, you know, try to help people do that kind of thing, what would you say to them? Like, what kind of advice, or would you try to discourage them, or what
I never try to discourage people. I get asked about this all the time, actually. I get emails from people that want to do this. I talk to people, and I tell them there's nothing wrong. Wearing a costume doesn't make you a superhero. Right? The superhero is within every one of you, every person. You can go out and do good without wearing a costume. Want to do it in a costume? Fine. The costume draws attention to the fact that there's a problem. I wear this costume as a way of showing and symbolizing that there is a problem, that people are dying, and drawing attention to it. All of our costumes are for that reason. It draws attention to the problem and gets our message out. And we're usually asked, well, you know, does it work? And it's like, well, for one, I'm standing here talking to all of you. I've been interviewed by news services from around the world, as most of us have by now. Our message is getting out. You want to do this in a costume, by all means, but first be sure of what you're going to do. Decide on what your course of action is. Not everybody can be out there going toe-to-toe with drug dealers and be a crime fighter. But there's so many things you can do, from helping animals, helping children, helping people in general. Decide on what you're going to do, you know, and then get out there and realize that this is tough. This takes a lot of dedication. It's extremely dangerous, but you meet some of the best people in the world, and you have an awful lot of fun at the same time.
How are the BPD treating you?
I'm sorry, beg your pardon?
How are the BPD treating you?
They treat me very well. My biggest problem with them is...
Do you think they're doing enough?
Beg your pardon?
I said, do you personally think that they're doing enough?
I can't hear you very well.
I said, what is your stance on the BPD? That they're doing a good enough job, or that...
The Vancouver police?
Yeah.
They are very good people. Their biggest problem right now is they are outgunned, outmanned, and understaffed. They need more people, and they need better equipment. criminals on the street, down at Hastings and Mains, they're outgunned. I work down through that area all the time, and I can tell you, I've seen handguns, I've seen rifles, I've seen grenades, I've seen knives, swords, every type of weapon you can imagine down there. The police here are completely overwhelmed by what's happened down there. They do a very good job. They're very good people. As I was going to say, my biggest complaint with them right now is the fact that when they see me out, if I wave at them, they wave back and keep going. Because they know who I am, and they know I'm not out there causing any problems or causing anything that they're going to need to be concerned with. If I see things happening, I phone it in, and I advise anybody to. You know, we are all an extra set of eyes and ears for the police. If we want the police to do a better job and be better police, then we have to help them a bit. They cannot do it all on their own.
Would you feel that, say, our problem in Vancouver and kind of our society here is more so with the criminals that are doing the crime, or with the people that just refuse to do anything about it?
The problem here, especially in the downtown where I work, is very complex. Most of the people that live down there on the streets didn't want to live on the streets. Most of the people that are down there selling drugs or being prostitutes or pimps didn't choose that life. They didn't go to high school and their counselor look at them and say, "I'm sorry, you only have the qualifications to be a drug dealer." They've ended up there because they've fallen through the cracks of our society. There's no safety net. There's no way to keep people from falling down there. People end up on the street. They end up homeless. They end up going from mission to mission to eat. They end up with nothing. And they get caught up in the world down there. They get caught up in the drugs just to escape it. Women get caught up in the prostitution so they can pay for the drugs to escape the pain of their everyday lives that they're going through. We want to get rid of the criminals and that off our streets. We have to change the way our society functions. We have to stop people from having to fall into that lifestyle.
Do you think that, sorry.
Go ahead.
Do you think that with especially modern TV and the way media is now, that it's criminal activity is almost over-romanticized?
Criminal activity has...
Like romanticized, like it's something that...
They do. Like different people have said, who are our heroes that we look up to? Gangster rappers, people, you know? A movie about a serial killer will draw a line blocks long. Our society is flawed. It's changed. People are idolizing the wrong ideals. Apathy is everywhere. One of the biggest things most of us will say when asked just exactly what do you do in that costume, I fight apathy. Because apathy is the biggest problem. Nobody wants to get involved. Nobody wants to do something to help change a life, to change their own life. And the TV doesn't help everything. It romanticizes things. People do stuff just to get their 15 minutes of fame. They'll go out and shoot somebody famous just so they can be famous for 5 or 10 minutes on the news. That's not the right way to be.